Surprise, surprise! Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft is a complete and utter disaster with no one really watching this show on Netflix, according to Netflix's own data that they have released publicly. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. I wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. You can find the link in the description below. You can also become a member in the description below and help support everything that I'm doing here on the Trent Report, exposing woke media, calling this stuff out, and saying no. But that is correct. You read that headline correct. The Legend of Lara Croft failed to chart on Netflix's top 10 list the week it debuted. You can see here the week for October 7 to October 13. It is nowhere on the top 10 TV English shows. It is somewhere below Prison Break, which got 1.8 million views. The show did premiere on October 10th, so it had 3-4 days on Netflix to try and chart. It did not chart whatsoever. In fact, if we go to the second week that it was on Netflix, it is not on that chart either. You can see here, not there at all. What is interesting is that another animated show was on there. Gundam Requiem for Vengeance Season 1 did, in fact, chart 2.4 million. So anyone trying to say, oh, well, it's animated, of course it wouldn't chart. That's absolutely not true. We have evidence right there in front of us showing that animated shows can indeed chart on this list. And you can even go back on Arcane. I think Arcane was at the top of the list for Netflix when it debuted. Its first season was on there for a number of weeks. I expect when season 2 arrives that it'll be on there as well. If the quality is as good as what it was. I think regardless, it'll be on there to begin with, but we'll see how long it stays depending on the quality of that season. But animated shows do indeed get on this chart quite frequently. If you switch it over to non-English, you'll see a number of Japanese anime are on that chart as well. So not good for Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft. And none of this is surprising, right? I mean, you go back to the first trailer that they released back in August. You can see here that it had a 17,000 dislikes, only 10,000 likes. We're looking at, when I took this morning, it was at, 325,000 views there. So really, really bad. I mean, people in the comments were just absolutely trashing it. One person was like, oh boy, they left the comment section open again. Someone needs to teach Netflix what the definition of a teaser trailer is. I mean, you just go through the comments on that video. It was everyone just roasting it, sharing that it looked like garbage. And it did. It looked like absolute trash. Anyone with eyes to see saw that. Not only did they have a garbage trailer, but we had the showrunner coming out, just basically just torching the show, like just taking the lighter and just killing all the money, blowing it up. It's like the Joker, right, from Dark Knight. But she told IGN's Katie Rule that she's writing it for little girls as much as I'm writing for big girls. Obviously, implication there that this show is going to have a heavy dose of the agenda, specifically the feminist agenda. And from everything I've seen, that's exactly what it did. That's what it had, based on people who did watch it. We also had this where she was insulting basically the original creators of Lara Croft, Core, where she said that Lara Croft was a, quote, cold figure because she had previously been written by men. She says, because historically she's been written by men, no, she has been kind of this cold figure. So she has been kind of this cold figure. And I know she's not like that. So that was the exciting part, to see sort of behind the veil of how she is in her everyday life. So she's literally admitting that she's changing the character of Lara Croft because it didn't fit her vision of what she wanted Lara Croft to be. Thomas Sowell talks about this in a number of books that he's written, Conflict of Visions, etc. That's exactly what people like Tasha Ho do. They have a warped version of reality, and they want to try and turn that warped vision of reality into reality, and it just doesn't work. And this is why I say these people are literally warring with reality. They are warring with nature, because that's exactly what they are doing. I'm not I'm not exaggerating on that fact. That's what these people are doing. They are at war with the truth. They're at war with reality. They're at war with nature. Ho then attempted to do some damage control. She did an interview with Entertainment Weekly saying there's a desperate concern that the show is going to be too modern and not be enough of the Lara we know and love. I just want the fans to know that this is the show that we've all been waiting for as fans. It feeds into all the stuff we love from the original games. This is a show made by fans from top to bottom. Well, that's a complete and utter lie. You can just look at the ratings, 5.3 out of 10. The plurality are 1 out of 10. We're looking at like 27.3% over on IMDb. These are absolutely terrible, terrible numbers. And then you can just kind of, this is what the Critical Drinker had to say about it as well. He says, aside from the awful Resident Evil series that I'm still having therapy for, I don't think I've seen any show misuse its source material in such spectacular fashion before. I think he's actually wrong about the term misuse. I think they know exactly what they are doing. They aren't misusing it at all. They know what they're doing. They're using it as a vehicle to propagandize and to humiliate. He went on to say, Tomb Raider is an effing embarrassment that shames the very name of Lara Croft, sacrifices character and story integrity to work in the tedious and cringy tropes of modern writing. What did Tasha Ho say? Oh, there was concern about it being too modern, but that's not the case. But clearly, it was the case. Wastes its talented voice cast on clunky dialogue and rams it all home with crappy animation that looks about 20 years out of date. In short, it's a boring and pandering mess that proves once again why Lara Croft absolutely cannot be adapted for modern audiences. So the writing was on the wall for this. Like this, all the flags were there. We saw all of this. It wasn't hard to realize that this show was going to be an utter disaster and people were not going to watch it. But that's not the point, right? Sure, there might be some inkling that they want to make money off of this, but at the end of the day, this property is now just being used to hammer home the agenda, to hammer home the message. That is what they are really getting out of this. They're willing to lose a bunch of money in order to push the message, push that humiliation ritual, try to indoctrinate people into the various agendas that they are preaching through the show. That is what they do now. That is what Hollywood is. It is no longer about trying to provide any kind of entertainment, consolation, escape, etc. All of the things that J.R. Tolkien talks about that make up a good fairy story. Forget even trying to reach the level of a eucatastrophe. They are absolutely opposed to doing that. They don't want you to even get a glimpse of Evangelium. They want to wear you down with their divisive, disgusting, and evil agendas that they are pushing, whether that is through feminism, transgenderism, whatever you name it, Marxism, communism. All of these things are just tentacles of woke ideology, and they push it constantly in these shows. And they don't really care about losing all of that money because at the end of the day, their real goal is indoctrinating people into these vile ideologies. So it does bode ill, though, for the future of Tomb Raider. If you're expecting anything from this franchise moving forward, I would completely just extinguish any kind of hopes of it being good at all. They were very clear that this show was going to be kind of the start of a new Tomb Raider timeline, and they were actually using this show to unify the timelines. Tasha Ho said this back in October 2021. She said the team at Crystal Dynamics is hard at work unifying the timelines of Tomb Raider, and we are so excited to be a part of that effort. She added, I always wondered how Lara Croft became such an epic and brilliant hero. She's so cool, so calm under pressure, also pretty witty. So to that end, the Tomb Raider anime series from Legendary Television and Netflix will provide fans like you and me around the world with some of the first steps toward unifying the Tomb Raider timelines as we transition beyond the Survivor trilogy and start to follow Lara's journey leading up to the first steps of that first Tomb Raider game. So they're literally rewriting Tomb Raider history with this show and moving forward. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And they're trying to do it under the guise of unifying the timelines. They're literally just rewriting history. Again, this is what these people do. mean, you see it in everything, right? Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, like they're all about rewriting the actual stories and trying to hide behind a facade of like, oh, it's just an adaptation. Oh, we're unifying the timelines. Oh, it's just a soft reboot. No, you're trying to rewrite it all and write it in the image of whatever woke ideology tentacle that they have decided to embrace at this time. She then added this. Now, part of that awesome task is about bringing together pieces from the different Tomb Raider eras, including some of Lara's friends and allies. That is why I am so thrilled to introduce you to 2 additional actors who will be joining us on this wild ride. She goes on to list the actors and everything. I think they made this, from what I understand, they made the character Zip a homosexual. Like I said, rewriting the characters. I think he used to be a ladies' man. Now they turned him into a flaming homosexual. She concluded saying, trust me when I say this is an exciting road ahead of us, and I cannot wait for you to join us. She actually doubled down on this recently in an interview with IGN. That interview with Katie Rule. She said, I had the whole canon in my head because we were coming from the Survivor Series, so we had to honor who Lara Croft was, that person that she was in those games, but move her into the person she was in the games where we all started playing, those early 90s games where she's just a very different person. And so it was really exciting to write to Lara becoming that person. How does someone who is like Lara from the Survivor Series transform into that person? What goes on to drive her to become that person? Was just the best questions to have to deal with. And it was really exciting to work in more humor, which is what I really loved about her early days. Getting to kind of combine those canons has been really fun. She just basically, it sounds like from what the Critical Drinker was saying, they just rewrote the canon and completely just butchered the character. But again, as I said, that is the purpose of shows like this. It's not to gain an audience. It is to basically smear the franchise and say, we control this now. Ha ha ha. But we have the power to be like, you just smeared that and pooped on that and it's yours. Have it. I don't want that. I don't want that poopy toy. You can have it. And that's what people are doing because they're not actually watching trash like this. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing that people are not watching this stuff. And we will cheer when shows like this do not have audiences at all. And frankly, we don't even know how poorly this did because it didn't chart. We don't have the actual numbers, but clearly did not do well. And we will cheer for that because it means that people are not participating in the humiliation ritual that Hollywood has aimed for them. They are not exposing themselves to the indoctrination that Hollywood is trying to indoctrinate them with. And that is a very, very good thing. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.